I'm sorry?
We will begin recording.
Okay.
I am and Aleph in Masechet Shabbos. We have this Gemara actually, to my mind, is the most significant piece of evidence for Nurik's trunculus as Techeles. We have the two dots about 2/3 way down the page, maybe 5/8 at Sad Tzvi.
Yep.
A person who hunts a chilazon, in other words, entraps it, and then punctures it, he's only gets one melacha on Shabbos. Right? Rav Yehuda Omer chayav shtayim. He has two melachos. Why? Shavina Omer petzia b'chlal disha. The puncturing is like disha. It's like milking a cow. Milking a cow is a lot of disha, expressing a liquid from a solid. So too, puncturing the chilazon is a form of disha. Amarav Maitan Rabbanan Kosever ain't disha gidulei karka. Disha only applies when gidulei karka. The question is, of course, what they do with milking, but that's not for now. Be that as it may. L'chayv nami mishum. I'll give it away. Gidulei karka means things on land. Doesn't mean things which grow from land, but things that grow from the land, but things that grow on land. Okay. So that would apply to the cow as well. Anyway, now the chayav nami mishum techeles neshama. The Gemara asks, why only chayav because of hunting? You chayav because you're killing the chilazon, right? Rabbi Yochanan shepatzel mace. The you punctured after it died. Rav Amar filu tema shepatzel chai. See, you puncture when it's alive. Mis alaseku etzel techeles neshama. You don't want it to die. All you want is the die. You don't want it to die. Right? So, Frek the Gemara, and here it's inevitable that it's going to die if you're puncturing it. Where it says, Shani the comment as the longer it lives, the better it is for you because the more clear the dye will be. Salul, right, is clear. The more the dye said we want it to be alive as long as possible. There's a little asterisk here which goes to the Gemara to the bottom below Tosfos. So, have it? It might be a different page in your Gemara.
Sarach Lomer Belitzlach.
The litzlach, the jimatzliach. Perish lo nicholate the tefach neshama. You don't want it to die. The kokam at the east main neshama fei matzlach tzivei. As long as it's alive, the longer it's alive, the more successful the dye will be. Shetzibo mis'ale yafa, because it's the dye comes out better. Navo yafa ubari. And I'm not sure. Novo here means the way it gushes out. I don't exactly mean how to understand what that means in this context. Will be clear, good and healthy, and just that's near, and that'll be successful. Okay, let's see Rashi. Rashi says, "Hapozo docha biyadav she'ed sedamo." You press with your hands that his blood will come out. Okay, so Rashi is going to dye in the blood are not two separate things, or else there's two kinds of blood. Okay, enochayv achas mishum tzeda, ava b'tzil lekachim. Enochayv and hunting, but not on the puncture. Chadisha shemefarek domo himenu kefarek tefillin mikashin shlo. It's like you're removing the dye from in it, like you remove the grain from the chaff. The grain from the husks. It's not deliberate. Doesn't want it, doesn't have in mind that it'll die. Right? So Tfein Yicholei, Shadam. Oh, did I skip something? Sorry.
I don't think so.
No. Atzveni Cholei. Shadam Achai Tov Midam Hames. The life of it, the blood of a live chilosa is better than the blood of a dead chilosa. He wants it to stay alive as long as possible. A few mace ain't kind of misasek. Even if it dies, it's only misasek. That which Rabbi Shimon is mighty that we don't care. Psik ratio is a problem. You misrame that misrame. You don't care if it happens or not. The psik ratio might be like a psik ratio the nichole. Yeah, that which is made by psik ratio psik ratio is lo ichbas le misrami mechavin lo mechavin. The same way it does, he's neutral. Doesn't carry the weight. Psik ratio nichole, everybody agrees is chayav. Psik ratio the lo ichbas le. So even Rabbi Shimon agrees on that he's chayav. Rabbi Shimon disagree though. And in the case of secret, the law, secret is the loni chole. You don't want the outcome. Here, you don't want the outcome. The litzu tzive gosina shetemar is sivo sula, that the countenance of the die should be clear.
Because if it was up to you, the chilazon would continue to live.
Right. Let's see places. Kechel litzu tzive koshelim mikomakom tilas adam b'chaim shum tilas teshama. Why isn't it taking blood out? Is the tilas neshama? It's killing, right? So therefore, taking the blood itself out should be the tilas neshama.
Which Tosos are you reading? I'm sorry.
The second last sentence on the page.
Okay.
Okay. V'nira k'lashon achresh peish kunches breish shmona shvatim. The chol of ha'mchaim shum dabi tolada the shoichet. If you wound an animal of any sort, it's a derivative of shoichet. Tilas neshama. Tilas adam kind of tilas neshama. Taking blood is neshama, even if it's not actually killing it. Can never show adam. That's why the 8 rodents which don't have a separation.
You skipped a line.
I skipped.
Directive.
Sorry. Or they have a hide separate from their skin. In other words, they have something which actually it's hard for me to explain this, but these rodents have a hide which can be dyed, and the blood dyes it. When the blood collects, even though it's coagulated underneath the hide. It's a kemen shnitzur because once it got coagulated there, it's going to come out. Or makvo. Just like right now, the hide impedes it coming out. Or other shvatim which do not have that hide, you're not only chayav, the blood actually comes out. Since it has yet come out, it's going to be reabsorbed in the body. Because it was supposed to come out, it would have come out immediately. Because there's no hide to impede it. So Rabbeinu Tam said, the blood of the chilazon, which is used for dyeing, mifka paki. It's in its own sack. You're not on that blood. There is no netilas neshama, because it's not the same blood as the blood which is the life blood of the chilazon. Okay. And even though when you puncture the chilazon,
real blood.
What?
Real blood comes out.
Right, that real blood which comes out. You don't want it to get contaminated. And Tilas Neshama does not mean that you're weakening an animal or whatever it is. because there's a question whether one's allowed to have relations with a basula on Shabbos for the first time, because you're making her bleed, right? And you say bleeding is high because of weakening the entity, whether it's an animal or human being. What would be a problem by why would there be a hava? I mean, now have relations for the first time on Shabbos. You don't want her to be weaker, right? And also, furthermore, by Mila there shouldn't be a problem of weakening. The tilas shouldn't be weakening, also because you don't need it to weaken. Now, tilas adam kind of tilas neshama capricious. Rather, taking the blood is called in and of itself the tilas neshama, as I have explained. Okay. Now let us take a look. How actually do we get the blood out of your trunculus? So for this, we're going to use a Google Hador. I will share the screen with you in a minute.
Okay.
Can you see the loading video?
Mm-hmm.
How is things along?
Exactly what's going on. Quite incredible. Look at the color.
I'll make it full screen when actually it starts going. Maybe it's easier for me to download and play it offline. See if that works better.
Color they look like part of the sea. But they're green like the sea and purple. It's so nice to hold them in my hands. First time I've seen these. I've never seen them before. We're going to repeat the process of how they did it 3,000-4,000 years ago, but not only that, but in this very same place where this was done at Tel Dor. Here we have the trunculus. Inside, you have like the kind of worm, the snail inside the shell. Right about here, on the back of the worm, there's what they call the hypobranchial gland. Right. That's where the dye is stored, and that's what we're going to get to. So we're going to try to break that open now. You break it right at that point. Right at that point. Here you can see. There it is. You see that? This whole yellowish gland. That's what we need. That's where the dye is stored. Okay. Just that yellowish gland. That's it. So we'll take this off. And inside the gland, there's this kind of a clear liquid, which when exposed to air and the enzymes that are also in the gland, will change the clear precursors of the dye into the dye itself, and you'll see this getting reddish, purplish blue. If you does it need the sunlight too? Some of the literature says it does, some of it says it doesn't. No, I don't know the answer to that question. That's all. That's the whole plant. Not the yellow part, but just a little. Right. So do it again. Just do another one. Can you see? Yeah. That's beautiful. Now I see very clearly the gland. So see that? This whole area here. Now I'm actually trying to cut it off. There you go. Just this gland, that whole thing. Dark part, right? That whole thing. Right there. Just put it right down. Oh, it's just your fingers will turn blue. Finger will turn blue? There it is. That's the gland. Right, that part. Now you can already see, in a few seconds, this is already turning. You can't eat this. People all along the Mediterranean eat them. And we've asked that they give the remainders of these snails to the poor people in Techeles to eat. Also, I've just read recently that derivatives of these chemicals are used in leukemia research.
Okay, so it wasn't the greatest video, but the idea of the video is that in order to get out the dye, which is like Rabbeinu Tam says, a separate sack, you have to puncture it, meaning you have to break it open. And if you look at other sources, you would see that in fact you want it to be to keep the snail alive as long as possible, because the moment it dies, the dye starts getting polluted. I'm not sure if I can find a source like that, but I know that is the case. And so this, sorry?
Okay.
So this is the, perhaps you can even find that, here, I have here the Wikipedia page. Computer's very slow today, I apologize. This is hexaplex trunculus, which is another name for Murex trunculates, Murex truculus. I don't see what it says here. It said in the
This week on First Century Foundations, a search for the biblical blue gets me snorkeling for snails.
Okay, it just says that it starts degrading when it goes into the sunlight, but I'm not finding the oh, here it is. Okay, it's here in purple. Second. The coloring matter. This is from yeah, let me share the screen again. You see where it says the coloring matter over here?
It hadn't shown up yet. Yes.
The coloring matter is a cream and liquid containing the vein of the mollusk, which must be taken alive for it rids itself of the juice when it dies. Moreover, the shellfish had to be collected before, at the end of the winter or very early spring, before their egg-laying season, or they become weakened and depleted of their color-producing fluid. So the main idea is the first one here. In other words, it has to stay alive as long as possible. You don't want it to die, because the moment it dies, it starts somehow losing its dye, right? So this Gemara in Ksubis is describing very precisely, according to Techeles, what happens when you start making the dye for the Murex trunculates.
Right. Okay.
This is the Gemara that convinced me that the Murex trunculates is most likely the source for Techeles.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep. Sure.
That's what I wanted to see today. There are a few other Gemaras I'm going to see, but this one to me is the key Gemara of them all. What do you
Okay.
think?
No, well, I mean, I've seen the other, the Techeles people have a lot of resources, and they present it at their at Teldor and at their factory, and I've been pretty convinced for a long time. But,
Yeah, but I think they stress archaeological evidence. I don't think they do the Gemaras, but I think this Gemara is the one for me. Anyway, next week we'll see the other sources of Chazal. There aren't that many other sources that are important for us. Whatever
Okay.
else we'll see next week, and then we'll discuss. But one thing this does is that it precludes the cuttlefish, the squid from which the Radzina dye is taken, because Radzina dye is its actual blood, as far as I recall. But in any event, it doesn't deteriorate any point after the fish dies.
right. No, this does sound very clearly like what they're going through with the Trungalos.
Okay, Yasher Koyach.
All right, Ishkach. Talk to you next week. Bye.